Earth Day Y2K 19.06.04. And this is Do-Rag Wisdom, ladies and gentlemen and friends, and welcome to this broadcast. Game of Thrones was a great epic. A fantasy akin to The Lord of the Rings, but much more brutal. The first 5 years of this show were exhibited in a timely manner around the same time each year. But then, the showrunners of Game of Thrones decided to go, quote-unquote, David Chase on us by deciding to divide the show, the last season of the show, in two parts. That's 7 and 8. And they did something even worse when they took season 7 and 8 and they had a 2+ year hiatus between them. If you don't think that's ridiculous, then I have a bridge to sell you. The seasons were great every year, one after another, until the 6th season they started playing. And then, of course, what they did to those last seasons. Many complained about how the show ended. I, on the other hand, was extremely satisfied with Dakota. But I do understand why people were upset. I sincerely believe they were upset for the wrong reasons and they don't know it. I believe that the showrunners, had they combined the last 2 seasons into one had 7 I think had 8, and the last season had 6. 8 had 6. Imagine if they had combined it into one. I believe if they had done that, there would have been fewer complaints. Splitting those last seasons, my friends, would be like having patrons pay to see a 3-hour movie in a movie theater, but then are kicked out after 2 hours and then told to come back in a year to see the final hour. Imagine what that would be like. There are no traditional TV seasons anymore, folks. I mean, with all the things going on in the world where you can get shot up any place that you can go, I can understand why people would want to enhance their home theaters, maybe even their home gyms, everything. You could take and make your entire home into a fortress. So I understand too why there are no traditional TV seasons anymore. And typical TV seasons now can be as little as 6 episodes. The last seasons of Game of Thrones, 6 measly episodes. I don't care how long they made each episode. The Fugitive was on ABC from fall 1963 until the summer of '67. Each season of the show, except for the final episode aired August, contained 30 episodes. Imagine a TV show had 30 episodes at one time, or even more. I think the Beverly Hillbillies, that was a half-hour show. They had like 37 episodes for a season. There was one TV season from September until sometime in April, when reruns began. Additionally, you got, back in those days, about 50 minutes of actual show and only 10 or 12 minutes of commercials. Today, you are lucky to get 41 minutes of show, the rest of the hour being cluttered with commercials. David Chase made the benchmark. David Chase made the splitting of seasons one of the normal things that these creeps, these showrunners do. Because after David Chase decided to split the 6th and 7th seasons of his show, Vince Gilligan split the last seasons of Breaking Bad. Matthew Weiner, who worked for Chase, he split the final seasons of his show Mad Men. The showrunners of Boardwalk Empire, who also were associated with David Chase at a point, had a short final season. They didn't even tell you that they were going to have that. The bottom line, They want us to spend extra money on an extra DVD or Blu-ray set. Simple as that. Game of Thrones did not have to be on for 9 freaking years. 9 years, because there was once again a 2+ year split between so-called season 7 and so-called season 8. I consider Game of Thrones and other shows of its ilk to be long, epic movies, and I watch them that way in a marathon fashion. With the 17 episode Twin Peaks, for example, I waited 17 weeks before watching the entire show as I believe it should be viewed. I am 68 plus and no longer have any mother effing time to be spoon-fed continuing dramas 1 episode at a time. In viewing the entire Game of Thrones marathon fashion, I am getting the experience I am supposed to have. Watching this show the way I am is giving it more immediacy and more suspense. When they say winter is coming, when you watch it marathon fashion, you hear that a lot. Watching a long epic series movie like Game of Thrones, you don't only watch it, you almost live it. The show is designed with various color and hue schemes. That's H-U-E. Depending on where the characters are. Warm colors for the more, the warmer parts of this fantasy land, and cold colors for the north. Editing is superb, with liberal uses of cross-cutting and match-cutting. Acting was flawless. There were also several iconic images that could be used to represent the highest point of this feature, such as the image of Arya amidst the smoking ruins of King's Landing. I also appreciated with my marathon viewing the continuity of the story without long interruptions between each episode and each season, especially between so-called season 7 and so-called season 8. Watch the entire show at your leisure. If you are working full-time, I know it is hard, but you will be surprised how much progress you will make when you watch from 3 to 4 hours of the show per day. If you can do that. I thought the ending of the show was top-notch. It was the culmination of all the characters, travails, and incidents we saw in the entire film or TV series. I liked the ending for the following reasons. Spoiler alert. A. I love the destruction of King's Landing, which was a character in this feature. It was a well-deserved punishment. I was happy that Drogon burned it all. In fact, I was yelling, "Burn it!" while this was happening. In watching the entire movie back to back, I saw just how evil the residents of the city were. They were described by one character as being a mob. That's what we have ruling our country now, a mob. I know that the innocent died during Drogon's attack. But when a community tolerates evil in its midst, all will suffer. And this is one main reason why we have to expunge evil in our midst, like a Donald Trump, fascism. Check out how these citizens wanted Tyrion to be lynched. See how they spit on a naked Cersei as she did her walk of shame. And by the way, I hated that High Septon and his followers. B. Bran as king and a wheelchair as throne, thumbs up. C. Once again, Drogon melts the cursed Iron Throne. He melted the piece of garbage. People are more important than Iron Thrones. He melted that son of a bitch. I was cheering as he did it. Then he flies off with his dead mother and I was crying. I love those characters. 2 dragons lost, and the death of the Dragon Queen. Tragic. D. The Battle of the Cleganes inside a falling building with the dragon flying around. Drogon killing, destroying everything. Wow. E. Sansa becomes the Lord of the Winterfell. Wow. F. Tyrion becomes the hand of the king, and his group work together to rebuild their society for the better. G. Arya goes traveling to points unknown. H. The deaths of Jaime and Cersei Lannister. And I. Jon Snow is reunited with his beloved direwolf Ghost and his wildling friends. The last we see of them is they're walking out of Castle Black to explore regions unknown. Seeing Jon walk away with his wolf and these folks, these wonderful folks, these persecuted individuals in the sick society that we were living with, it brought tears to my eyes. When you watch the entire series, marathon fashion, and when you combine the short seasons 7 and 8 as one, you will have a more effective viewing experience and a better understanding of the show's plot. Finally, Benioff, Weiss, and Double R can kiss my tuchus in Rhine for abusing babies, women, dire wolves, and dragons. And by the way, the abuse of women was like beyond the pale. And for abusing us with a show that did not have to go on forever. The showrunners ruined Game of Thrones by doing that. But what the hell? Valar Morghulis!